Recently, I had an interview with a professor of economics named John Lott. John Lott has written a book called More Guns, Less Crime, where he argues that gun control has actually hurt the country because Americans use guns to defend themselves something like 1.25 million times every year. And I recently had a conversation with my barber. He's been cutting my hair for some 30 years. And I asked him how often does he believe that Americans use guns to defend themselves? And he said, oh, about 40 times. I said, 40 times for the whole year? He said, yeah. I said, in a country of 350 million people, where there's probably at least one gun for every person here, you think that Americans only use guns 40 times a year to defend themselves? He said, yes. I said, how about 1.25 million times, according to a criminologist named Gary Kleck? He teaches at a university in Florida. He had no blooming idea. And John Lott told me that 90-some% of Democrats want more gun control legislation, and the percentage of Republicans that do is around 6%. I said, what accounts for the discrepancy? He said, it's where they get their news. If you watch CNN, MSNBC, you get your news from Facebook, from Google, from the New York Times, they rarely ever show any stories about defensive uses of guns. And this is all about how we get our news, how we get our media. It influences how we think. There's a book called Left Turn, written by a friend of mine named Tim Grosclose. He used to teach out here in California at UCLA, and he transferred to George Mason University because he felt that the atmosphere was more hospitable for him. He looked at the top 18 sources of news, top 20 sources of news. 18 of them were center-left. This is before Facebook, before Google. He would now probably change the numbers of sources where you get your news. And there was an experiment that was done. Most cities only have one newspaper nowadays, but there is an exception, and it's Washington, D.C. There are two major newspapers, the Washington Post, of course, and the Washington Times. Washington Times is not nearly as big, but it is a very good newspaper, and it's conservative. And what they did is they contacted the people who were subscribing to the Washington Post and offered them a free subscription to the Washington Times. Similarly, they contacted the people who were subscribing to the Washington Times and offered them a free subscription to the Washington Post. And then they looked at voting patterns to see whether or not they were going to change their voting patterns. And both groups did. The people that were getting the conservative newspaper, the Washington Post, began voting a little more liberally. The group that began getting the Washington Times began to vote substantially more conservatively, indicating the degree to which the left-wing media is altering people's behavior, because the media are overwhelmingly left-wing. Bottom line, if people truly got their media fair and balanced, conservative, moderate, and liberal, the book Left Turn concludes that the average state would vote 10 points, 8 to 10 points in favor of the Republican, not unlike Texas. So when you talk about the effect of the media, this book is trying to quantify exactly how it affects how we see things, how we vote on things. And that is why I was struck by this column in the Washington Post by a guy named Dana Milbank, who claims that Joe Biden is getting worse press coverage than did Donald Trump. Honestly, the reason Joe Biden is getting such bad coverage is because his policies have resulted in bad outcomes. We've got inflation, higher than any time in 30 years. We've got supply chain problems, in part because of the way he shut down the government, the way we've had these mass mandates, the way we had these union rules. And of course, we've got chaos on the borders because he reversed Donald Trump's policies, not so much reversing his policies, but reversing his attitude. He suggested that there should be a surge to the borders during one of the debates, remember? And as a result, people outside of this country who want to come here illegally have been encouraged to do so because they feel there's going to be a much more hospitable administration when they come. Foreign policy. How do you spin what happened in Afghanistan in a positive way? He pulled out all the troops, did not advise our allies, left Americans behind, left equipment behind in the hands of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban. How do you spin that? There's a statistician named Nate Silver. He used to work for the New York Times, so you know he's left-wing. And he said that what Dana Milbank said is, I'm quoting him, Complete crap. I didn't say it. Nate Silver did. Send your angry cards and letters to him. I'm getting sick of the news. Every day it's the left trying to make another money grab, whether it's looking at your accounts, taxing your unrealized gains. There's no shortage to their creativity when it comes to taking your hard-earned money to fund their expensive, far-reaching agenda. I've said it before, and I will say it again. You are making a mistake if you are not diversifying your savings. Hold gold in a tax-sheltered account, or just hold gold at your home in your safe. I buy mine from Birch Gold, the only company I trust and recommend. And when you log on birchgold.com/Larry and purchase precious metals with Birch Gold by December 23, they'll send you a free gold bar for every $10,000 you purchase. With thousands of satisfied customers and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, you can trust Birch Gold to help you protect your savings. To get a no-cost, no-obligation info kit and to qualify for your free silver on every purchase by December 23, log on to birchgold.com/Larry. This comprehensive 20-page kit reveals how gold and silver can protect your savings and how you can hold gold and silver in a tax-sheltered account. So, do it right now. Visit birchgold.com/Larry. That's birchgold.com/Larry. Also, this has been examined by other people. Look at this. According to a comprehensive study by Harvard University, Trump received 93% negative coverage from CNN and NBC the first 100 days of his presidency. CBS, 91% negative the first 100 days of the Donald Trump presidency. New York Times, Washington Post, 87%, 83% negative, respectively. Joe Biden, according to the Pew Research, 68% of the coverage of Biden was either positive or neutral. So there's no question that the coverage that Donald Trump got was far worse than the coverage that Joe Biden is getting right now. And think about it. Joe Biden's coverage is as negative as it is, even though it's through the lens of left-wing people who very likely voted for him. Can you imagine if under Donald Trump we had the economy we have right now, the inflation we have right now, the crime we have right now, the foreign policy debacles that we have right now, the immigration problems on the borders that we're having right now? The man wouldn't be able to leave the White House in the daytime. So the idea that somehow, some way, Joe Biden is getting worse coverage than Donald Trump is, to use the words of Nate Silver, complete crap. I'm Larry Elder, and this has been the Larry Elder Show for Epoch Times.